Hi everyone and welcome to English Owls. I'm Alex, and in this video I would like to answer a question that came from a teacher who attended one of our Facebook Live meetings. We try to do these every other week, and if you cannot attend for whatever reason, it's absolutely fine. The recordings are available on the Facebook page. The link will be available below. So what was this question that we were asked? The question was, how can we improve our students' fluency? And actually it was a little bit more general. How can we improve our students' speaking skills? So I've been thinking about it and trying to narrow down the main things that we can do to help our students. I came up with 3 different tips that hopefully will be useful for you to help your students with their speaking skills. So the first one is, surprisingly, plan backwards. Plan backwards. What do I mean by that? Basically, when you think about your lesson plan, you might have some kind of warmer in the beginning, then you have some kind of context setting task, there might be some presentation and some practice, usually controlled if we're talking about language lessons, of course, and then if there is time, there should be some kind of productive activity at the end. So when we plan our lessons, we tend to go from the warmer to the last activity, the productive task. However, because things take a little bit longer in reality, and especially if we teach online, we end up not having enough time for the productive task. So if you change your mindset and you start by planning your speaking activity or leaving out a chunk of time, enough time for that in your lesson, you will definitely get there. So the best way to improve your students' speaking skills is to get them talking. If they don't talk, there is no opportunity for them to improve. So make sure there is enough time, whether at the end of the lesson or throughout the lesson, for them to actually speak. So planning backwards is a great way to do that. The second idea that I came up with is to include a variety of activities and make sure that these activities are peer checked consistently. So don't just rely on having a long control practice task and then deciding, okay, there isn't enough time for them to discuss their answers in pairs and just go through feedback without nominating and eliciting. Just make sure you have various tasks, and these tasks are catering for different learning styles, for different student needs. Have a listening task followed by some kind of vocabulary practice. Make sure that you go through different stages and you don't just have the same type of task over and over again. Improvise. Look at your students. Think, okay, what do they like? Make sure you have enough variety in your lessons and you're not just doing the very same thing all the time. It's very easy to stay in your comfort zone, but I encourage you, if you want your students to be speaking more in your lessons, include variety, and a variety of speaking tasks as well. Don't think just about, okay, I'm going to have a reading task and then, okay, they're going to talk a little bit. No, try to make it all a little bit more interesting, more engaging for your learners, and they will be more likely to answer and to be more talkative. So we're coming up to the last or the third tip for today, and to make your students better at speaking is to make sure you correct their mistakes. Of course, you need to have a clear understanding of how students want to be corrected, how much error correction they would need or want, and it's good to have a discussion about it. Some ground rules. Some students want to be corrected all the time. Some of them prefer written correction. So make sure you include that correction. If they are speaking but there is no follow-up, there is no way for them to know that they have made mistakes. How can you get better if no one is actually telling you? Make sure you include error correction. Spot correct students. Give them time to think about their mistakes and self-correct. Peer correction is also great, and don't ignore and don't forget to do delayed error correction. All these things are absolutely essential if you want your students to be better at speaking. So, what should we do? Number 1, plan backwards. Think about enough or giving enough time for speaking throughout the lesson, but especially at the end if that's what you usually do. Or have lessons focused only on speaking. Why not? That would be absolutely amazing. They're not conversation classes. They're speaking practice and learning how to speak. Functional language lessons are very, very good in that sense. And the second thing was to include a variety of tasks, a variety of activities, a variety of methods, task-based learning, TPR, these things, mime. There are so many things that you can do, and students will not get bored. They'll be more likely to answer questions, to respond, and to be more engaged. And the last thing on my list was error correction. Correct students' mistakes on the spot or later, or use kind of task, maybe a game, maybe an auction, a grammar or a language auction. Absolutely fantastic to help your students become more fluent, speak more. So the key to improving speaking skills is to get students talking. So stop talking as a teacher and get your students, let them talk. Give them tasks in which they talk together rather than listen, and write something. That's how they get to talk more. And the bonus tip for today, use recordings. Get students to discuss a task, for example, a dialogue. I used it a lot with exam students. For example, for IELTS, for task 2, I would get students to record themselves, and then they would send me the recording and I would basically correct those errors. And it's a personalized way to give feedback. And also, if students feel a little bit embarrassed when you correct them on the spot and you put them in a difficult position, it's much easier if they have that personalized recording from you. What I would do is I would sometimes write the feedback, type it and send it to them, or sometimes I would just listen to what they were saying in their original recording, and I would record myself in response to their task. So recordings are really lovely because they give you the opportunity to focus and really zoom in on those errors and help students individually. So make your feedback very focused for those particular errors, which are not necessarily going to be the same for a group of learners. They could also practice a dialogue together, and that's when you can come in and give them some tips on how to become better and make that progress. They really need all our help for that. So hopefully this video was helpful and you have learned some ways to get your students to be more fluent and help them with speaking. If you do have questions and comments, please write them below. It would be lovely to hear your thoughts and ideas. Also, we are very happy to welcome you to our free webinars. Loads of things coming up. Facebook lives, on Instagram, lots of interaction. It's absolutely amazing to have you all on these social media platforms, and hopefully we will grow as much as possible as a community. So until our next video, I hope you have lovely lessons and you stay safe. Bye for now.